Hello and welcome to Dirt Track Racing for this third event in the first series, the Adrad's Tri-State Series. So here we are 14th in the points, 55 points. Moving on to the next race in Paris, Texas. This is Paris Motor Speedway, 9 degrees banking, 3/8 of a mile. It's going to be pretty windy. Let's have a look at Google Maps and see what it looks like in the real world. So you can see that nowadays the track is a bit abandoned. I think it's actually closed now. Apparently closed in 2011. And it looks a bit more like a motocross track at the moment. Still gives you an idea of the kind of banking that you would have and the overall shape and size of the track. You can see that there would be a couple of buildings on the side, but it's mostly flat land here. And you can see where it stands. It's a bit further down from Paris. On the outside of Paris here. Now let's have a look at a couple of pictures going back in time, seeing what it looked like and the evolution of the track here. You can see surroundings getting more and more barren as the track stopped being used altogether. Main features we could see from the track here were the buildings mainly, and then flat land all around. So let's see what it looks like in game. Straight away you can notice these sort of hills surrounding the track here, which is not an accurate representation of what we've just seen. On the other hand, the color of the green used on these hills seems pretty accurate to me when you compare it to the satellite data. Obviously it's understandable why they would have used hills here because of the limitations of computers at the time, and it's very difficult to render higher draw distance if you've got a flat land. Still, I think I would have preferred, to have some kind of background image instead of these hills. A background image that would simulate the horizon with a flatter, emptier land. I think sometimes it's quite nice to have, tracks that look a bit empty, and the emphasis then is on all the objects that surround the track, so it's a different focus, and that can be refreshing as well. It makes you feel like you're really experiencing a different type of track. Also, what appears to be missing is the buildings that you have on the side of the track, so you should have a couple of buildings lined up, but we can't see them on this model. Now, something we couldn't really see on the satellite data was the kind of bumpiness of the track itself and what it felt like to drive it. And so you can see here that it's quite bumpy, fast track, and the banking can be felt, but it's maybe not as high as I would have thought it to be. One thing for certain is that if you've ever watched real dirt races, you'll probably agree to say that this actually looks like a proper track, like the ones being used in the real world. And there's this kind of feel to it where you're actually carrying the momentum and having to use the elevation of the track to sort of turn the car and not lose too much speed. Best lap time of 22:19, and it's now time to qualify. Let's see what we can do. During practice we had a lap time varying between 22:19 then and 23 seconds per lap. Let's see what we can do now. Without any traffic, it's always a bit of a wonder whether traffic helps you or hinders you. It can really go both ways. You can see little dips in the track just before the turn, which can really send the car in the wrong place. You can see here I've completely lost it and lost a lot of time whilst skidding in the turn. It's just finding the right balance and angling the car at the right time in order to get the most traction out of the corner. Beautiful skid marks once again. Really love to see them. Here we are for our last qualifying of the series. 21:94, that's quite a good improvement on what I did during practice, and that's earned us pole. Not by much, 21:96 for the second place. Crazy stuff. That means obviously that we're going to start the heat on the last row in 16th. Now, a tacky track, still windy. Hopefully we're going to be able to do well here. In the past we have struggled to go up the pack during the heats. We've ended up in C mains, B mains a number of times, and then it makes it all that much more difficult to get back in the A main, and by the time you get back in the A main you might have picked up a lot of damage, used your tires, so on and so forth. So let's see what we can do here. We've got 10 laps to go back to the top. And we are actually already in 4th position, so that's pretty good. That's a great start. It's a good opportunity to kind of study the way the AI is racing as well, to try and maybe learn from them and try and find the best way to place our car when we come at their level. One thing that I've not mentioned yet is how much I love this view. You really get an impression of a 3D cockpit. In many games it looks a bit flat, especially the older games, but in this particular game it really feels like that you really have 3 dimensions. Got the number 6, the yellow and blue Mustang behind us, trying to make a pass. It's getting really close now. I think I'm faster than number 4, but it seems that it's really hard to overtake on this track, even though it's a fast track. It's also very technical, and you can lose a lot of traction in the turn, so it might look like you're about to overtake someone, but they might get a better exit than you, and then in the end you lose out a lot. So I'm not quite sure which one is the best line. I've done quite well on the inside line here, but my instinct would be to use an outside line on the straight and then dive into the center of the corner from there. But obviously if you've got traffic around you, it's much harder to drive this way. Last lap already, this has gone really fast. Third place, that's a great result for us from 16th to 3rd. That's a good sign for the A main. Fantastic result here, moving to the A main with the first 4 drivers. Bit of prize money, not incredible, but we'll take it anyway. Let's skip to our main. Now the track has gone to dry, still windy up there. Haven't really felt the wind in itself. I think I would need to drive in a straight line and not touch the wheel, see if that's got any effect, but who knows. Starting first, this is our last green flag of the series. Let's enjoy this moment. It's a great way to end the series. The start is not that great in itself, as we're now down to 4th or 5th even. Still losing places, so I'll have to try and get the rhythm. Bit of contact, which allows us to kind of fight for 3rd place again. Number 6, Mustang here, is back. We were fighting with him on the previous... Oh, this one is number 4 actually, so maybe I got it wrong last time as well, but it's definitely the same livery. Being in the A main is actually a lot of pressure, and it's quite hard to maintain the position and set the pace. Here you can see I was really set to take the corner in a better way than they did, but unfortunately they had a bit of a moment and I wasn't able to capitalize on that and made contact instead, so it's really not ideal. There we go. Can I try something on the outside? That black Charger. Actually, the drivers behind are becoming impatient as well. Look at that, 3 wide. Everyone wants to get this win because it's the last race of the series and there's a good amount of prize money, so everybody is really fighting hard for this. You can really see that the ground as well has changed a lot. The color of the ground is really different and feels different too. I think everybody's sliding a bit more now. It seems that there's 2 different groups that have formed, with the leaders at the front and the back markers, and I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, sometimes itching closer to the front and sometimes dropping back a bit, which is not ideal. It's not really how I wanted the race to pan out, but I just have to try my best now. I'm currently in 7th position, from 1st to 7th. Not ideal, but again, the AI might have upgraded their car throughout the season. When I didn't do that, I actually moved from one really damaged car to a less damaged car, but that is probably not the right strategy. You can see that the AI is very reactive here, swapping position and racing hard. It's really cool to see because it makes the race much more interesting and you really don't know who's going to be on top and what's going to happen. So very nice to see that they're not racing in the line. They really all have their own lines and they're all adapting to what's going on. I feel I'm gaining a bit on them now, so just have about 6 laps to try and recover a couple of places. If I can, that would be fantastic. This track is quite unforgiving. If you make a mistake, you will pay the price straight away. Because of this higher speed, everybody is quick to catch up with you and make the most of your errors. Here we go, is it my chance? Not yet. It does feel like you're about to pass them, but see there, just one bad exit and you're back to square one. You're losing ground again. They're making contact. Hopefully that's gonna give me an advantage here, but if they close the door then there's nowhere for me to go. So really cool racing, really enjoyable, even though I'm not making any progress. I think we made contact again, ever so slightly, but that's enough to slow us down. I think we have a bit more pace than the 3 cars ahead, but it's not enough of a difference to allow us to overtake them. And we're now back with that beautiful Mustang. It really has a great livery here. I wouldn't mind that beautiful car. And that's the last lap, the last chance to try and make a difference. Will I be able to catch up with these guys at all? It seems unlikely at this stage, but you never know. They could make a last minute mistake. There we are, that's the checkered flag which marks the end of this series, and we end up on a high 7th in the A main, which is our best result of the series. I would have liked to do a bit better and end up, you know, on the podium. That would have been fantastic. But we'll take that. We'll take the prize money and the appearance money, which is a pretty good purse for us. Here's a drop down of the event. $225 overall. That's pretty good to take. Hopefully that could help us maybe to tune up the car for the next series. We can see we're 13th overall, 79 points, just 1 point behind 12th, so I'm missing out just by a point. That hurts. We could have done better, but hopefully it's not a bad omen. I hope you're not superstitious. And as you can see, the rest of the drivers end up with 42 points. Every single one of them, which I'm not sure I understand, but maybe there's a reason to that. New sponsor offer, well, that's back with our first sponsor, yeah. There we go, that sums up this first series, the Adrad's Tri-State series, and we're going to move on next time to the next series, which is comprising of 10 races this time, moving from 6 to 10. Nice little step up. And we'll also have to pay for entry, which is going to be interesting. I don't know if it's going to be a different entry cost per race, but we'll have to behave for sure. Thank you for watching, as always. I hope you enjoyed this series, and we'll move on to the RB Tools Bombers in the next one.